Welcome back and happy Father's Day. Today we're joined by Nichola Davenport, a transformational life coach, master NLP practitioner, and master hypnotist. And we dive all into her powerful journey from overcoming addiction, toxic patterns, postpartum depression, and turning her pain into purpose. Her story is a testament to resilience, healing, and transformation. Let's welcome her to the show. Welcome to Sunday Soul Day, Nick.
Thank you. And I'm so excited and thank you for having me on. Honestly, it's been so nice to connect with you.
Absolutely. I feel the exact same way. It was like instant spark when I met you. So very excited that we connected and we actually connected over a post. I always say the algorithm works in my favor. I always set my intention before I go on social media and just,
Yeah.
ask that I connect with, the right energies and also that, the right energies find my post, like who needs it, whatever message I'm sending out. And so was really grateful when I came across your post when you were talking about the very popular book that is circulating right now, The Let Them Theory by Mel Robbins. But I was really just very, very, very grateful that you were brave enough to put that post up and also talk about a creator that maybe a lot of people weren't familiar with. So I don't know if you want to just start there and touch on that a little
Yeah.
bit. But I was just really blown away by your post and had to reach out to you.
Yeah. First, before I go into that, I love the fact that you set your intention before you go on social media because wow, some of the things that come in my algorithm, I'm like, how did I bring it?
Exactly. I'm like, what? Like, so it used to be like that for me, especially on Facebook.
So, okay, so I was at a networking event with about five ladies, and we had a great evening. And toward the end of the evening, they were just all going on about this book with Mel Robbins. And I was like, oh, they would, okay, I've got to listen to this now. And I was doing some decluttering in my bathroom. So I thought, right, I'm going to go on there. And it wasn't on Spotify. So I even re-downloaded Audible, put it on, and I'm like listening to it. Yeah, this is great. I'm excited. And then I'm listening to it. And then she's going on, and I'm like, oh, yep, I gel with that. Yep, you just got to let stuff. But then she's like calling it groundbreaking. This is groundbreaking. And I'm like, okay, this is good, but it's not groundbreaking. It's not new. And I was actually just I was the word flabbergasted. Like I was just like I couldn't believe it. Like she could have easily written that book without using that word. And I wouldn't have had that reaction. But she was like claiming this concept as her own. I'm like, this is age-old concept. This is what I got taught in life coaching school. This is what I read in books, for the last 25 years. This is not new. And I got on the phone to my friend and I was like, I said, I'm really blown away by this. And anyway, it's a long story kind of, but she said there's a Facebook group about it. And she said, and people are going on about this. So I got on the Facebook group and that's how I found out about Cassie Phillips.
Wow.
And I was like, even more like, oh, this is terrible. And then I heard about some of the things that people have had these let them, you know, because of Cassie Phillips, that movement started. They started getting the tattoos. They started, other people had these merchandise, with let them on it, and that some of Mel Robbins' team, and like I said, in my post, I don't know if this is true because I haven't been able to verify that, but their lawyers were sending out cease and desist to these companies that have been around for years, or Cassie Phillips, asking them to stop selling this merch because now Mel Robbins has, put a what do you call it, trademark
Well,
on let them.
and just to give, the audience a little color, like, Cassie Phillips actually was on TikTok and shared a beautiful poem. And this was years before the Let Them Theory book actually came out. And so,
Yeah.
I am, I don't know anyone's journey or how they got their information, but I'm a huge proponent of, person just giving credit where credit's due. And, we are all creators and all inspired by all of what we put out, like I'm inspired by so many people and I really, intentionally go out of my way to make sure that I shine a light, with where I gave my creativity. One, because it doesn't take away from my brilliance, and then, two, it also could shine a light on someone who just needed to hear that message, from that creator. And now that creator has a fan, or a follower. And so
Yeah.
I'm so grateful for Cassie just first putting that out. And I've seen some videos after with her kind of making mention of that. So it is, probably really a touchy subject for for her and everyone
Yeah.
involved. But yeah, I think when I didn't read the book, but have read enough, reviews and kind of some of the guiding principles of it, and it's definitely in line with Stoicism, Buddhism, the detachment theory, which has been around forever, and also radical acceptance, which is one of just an amazing book that I read, years ago. And so, and even when I was reading bits and pieces, people have done so many reviews on it. It really reminded me of the Serenity Prayer,
Yeah.
and a lot
Yeah.
of the teachings in the Serenity Prayer. And also, believe it or not, like I studied a lot of religions. And so I find a lot of parallels in the Islamic principles in trusting Allah and accepting outcomes in her book. And so I don't know if she actually makes mention of that, but it definitely is very in line with all of those things.
Yeah, I didn't finish it. I didn't finish it. But yeah, when I was going down the rabbit hole, like it dates back to Marcus Aurelius, a long
Yeah,
time ago, he had a
exactly.
book and it basically that was his thing in there, let people do what they're going to do and just,
Yeah.
yeah,
Yeah.
focus
Love.
on
I
your own
have
stuff.
his books.
So,
I like love, love,
yes,
love.
I just felt very passionate to share that because
Yeah,
I
I'm
thought,
so
yeah,
grateful. Also,
yeah,
just because I found another creator, in a poetry writer, so I was like very
yeah,
excited to connect, and start following her, and just again went down a rabbit hole just learning about her. So I
yeah,
am always very grateful when I learn of, new information, new creator, and also just a different perspective, which I think, that's what's so beautiful about the internet. We all can have our perspective. So well, I
yeah.
would love for the audience to get to know you because you are remarkable yourself. And I'm just so fascinated at your journey. And, it's just been one of many deep transformations, it feels like. And when, and looking back,
Yes.
like, I know when I was like looking back at my notes, I'm like, this is just, it's so beautiful. Like you've had so many, transformations, transitions. And I would just love to talk about that. Like, what was a defining moment, would you say, like looking back, where you said, like, enough is enough, I need to change?
So there's been a couple, but the most notable one where the biggest change happened, I was living in Las Vegas and I moved there after working in Europe as a Kentucky tour guide. And I was just going to be there for a few months and then go back to Kentucky for the next season. And I ended up working in Vegas and I actually ended up working in a strip club, which if someone had told me that I would have been doing that, would have said, you are crazy. But I moved to Vegas in October 2021. So 9/11 had just happened. And so everywhere was laying off. And so it was quite hard to get a job. And a couple of people that I knew there, one being my beautiful cousin, who was my soul sister, Amanda Sophia. And she was like, oh, why don't you just look at getting a job as a waitress in a strip club? And I was like, I've never even been in a strip club. Anyway, long story, I ended up waitressing in this strip club, making great cash money. And, obviously you're covered, you're wearing little outfits, but I was just like, who am I? But going along with that, I was drinking a lot because they encourage you to drink with your customers. They encourage you, to be more fun. And anyway, I've never been a good drinker. And one night I went out and I just got absolutely just smashed. And I used to do bikini contests and I was in this bikini contest and I got up on stage and I'd been drinking and I kind of made a comment, like they were interviewing me and I just said some dumb comment. I can't even remember what it was. And then I continued to drink, party, uh, called into work, didn't even make it into work. The next morning, I woke up, I walked down the stairs. I was living with my cousin, who's my soul sister. I walked down the stairs and she was in the kitchen. And I went, her back was facing me. And I said, did I see you last night? And when she turned around to Misha, that look on her face, and never ever want to see that look on anyone's face ever again, let alone someone that I love so much. And she was horrified. I scared her. I don't have any recollection, but apparently I just frightened her in her own home.
Mm,
And I knew that I had to make a change. And that was the massive start of my transformation. I was 27.
wow. And you mentioned some other ones, like, if you can just share with the audience, because, that's what I say. We have so many common denominators in like transition and, having those kind of transformations, like whether they're good or bad, is a
Mhm.
common denominator. Like, what
Yeah.
are some other ones that, you experienced?
Yeah, so the the next really big one again was I'd moved back to Vegas, sorry, to Perth from Vegas. So I'd met my husband, my ex-husband, in Vegas, and when he met me, I was already planning to move back to Perth. And so he was like, I'm going to go where you want to go. And when we moved back here and we went through IVF to have our babies, which that's a whole nother story in itself. That's a long story. I'll share that with you one day. It was quite a miracle story, but um, once we moved back here, he never really settled here and was never really happy. And I carried a lot of the load, and there wasn't a lot of support. And I had started drinking again, so I had quit for a very long time, and it had crept back in. So when I say though I quit drinking before, I still drank once in a blue moon. So that's kind of important in the story. And when I drank, I still just binge drank. But then I started drinking again, and I just realized I was about to turn 40, and I'm just like, what am I doing? Like I don't want to be this person. I don't want to be that person that's like falling over, can't like doesn't know when to say no, and having those blackout moments. And so again, I was seeing a psychologist, and I said to her, you see those signs on the road that say, quit smoking in 1 hour. I was like, does that work with alcohol? And she's like, yeah, of course it can. And I was like, okay, well, I'm ready. I don't want alcohol to be a part of my life at all. So I went to see a psychologist, because she said, I recommend seeing a psychologist that does hypnosis. I'm like, okay. So I took that, went to see a psychologist, uh, never drank again. Like I went through the sessions and I never drank. I'm 11 years sober as of about a week ago. And I've never touched a drop. So that was a massive transformation. And then I think because I was sober for a couple of years, in my marriage, I started to see things really clearly and just realize that I was making all these changes to become the better version of myself, to become a better wife, to be a better mother, to be a better business person, because I always have had businesses. And uh, I just realized that my ex was not changing. I was offering support. I was trying to show up, and I just realized I had to do what was best for me, not for my children, not what I thought it was best. What I had to do was best for me because, and I'm sure you live by this principle, Damesha, correct me if I'm wrong, but when you do what is truly best for you, it is always best for everyone around you, 100% of the time, even though it may not seem like it at first.
That is and first of all, you're absolutely correct. That's exactly how I operate in my entire world, personal and professional. And, I'm trying to like understand too for our audience, like giving it a little bit more color. That's such a huge mindset shift.
Mm.
Like where did that come from? Or like, when do you think that even occurred? Like maybe it was after you went through your process, like that mindset shift, like of maybe showing up for everyone else and, being in that self kind of sabotaging cycle that you were in, like when did you shift your mindset?
Honestly, the where I actually give credit to where I am today, and believe me, my life is not perfect.
No, no, no. Yeah.
But I maintain this level of joy in my heart no matter where I go. And the massive change for that and what I owe to that is when I actually started looking into becoming a life coach. And with the college that I went to, and there's all my little certificates back there, which was the life coaching college. You actually go through the process. You actually go through all the healing when you're becoming an NLP master, when you're going through the hypnosis, which I would like to add, the hypnosis that I trained with was exactly what the psychologist did with me. So it didn't matter. Like, I thought that was really interesting. And I didn't actually go into life coaching college wanting to become a hypnotist. It was just part of the actual master's course. Um, so I went through that, and I went through raw and open, and I went through some insane transformations in the classrooms because it was face to face, which was one of the reasons I chose the college that I did. And honestly, I have never gone back to where I was. And I went through that training about I started in 2019 is when I started my training. And I let go of resentment. I let go of self-loathing. And I honor myself. And like I said, my life is not perfect. I still make mistakes. I still have two teen boys that are 13 and 15 that I'm doing it on my own as well, because their dad really chooses not to be in their life very often, which is sad, but that's his map, his journey. And so life can be really tough, but I've got all the tools. I really like when I went through psychology counseling, and I'll never discount that time. I always felt good when I left, but I never really moved forward. That was my personal experience, okay? So when I went through coaching, my own like journey with it, learning it and experiencing it, that's when those massive transformations happened. And it was rewiring at a subconscious level. That I feel like is the really big shift that happened. It wasn't just talk therapy. It was like, okay, getting raw and experiencing it. And it sounds so cheesy, but it changed my life. And I'm walking proof of that.
Mm. Oh my gosh, this gave me chills. Like, and it is such a rewiring, of your brain and going through that process. And I work with clients as well. I'm a coach and I talk about like getting raw with yourself, our inner mirror is so messy. And a lot of times we don't want to clean it off. We don't even want to deal with the mess, and that is where that's where the work is. That's where the gift is, and so you gotta do that work. And I love the program that you went through. I was looking at it too when I was looking at becoming a coach and ended up signing up with Jay Shetty, but definitely put it on my list, of things that I wanted to accomplish down the road. There's so many, from yoga to this and that. So anyway, not another time, but I love that, and I think anytime you go through a program, as a coach, or aspiring to be a coach, it is such a gift because you learn things, I always say we're the expert of ourselves, but we also tell ourselves a lot of stories, and that we think is true. And
Ain't
so
that the truth?
oh, yes. And so I love, like any coaching program that I've kind of experienced, like whether I signed up for it or just kind of took some courses around it, like it's always given me such a beautiful opportunity to look at, life through a new lens. And so I love that you really talked about the rewiring because I think that's where I see a lot of people being stuck, kind of stuck in that kind of self-sabotaging, stage. And so
Yeah.
like, advice, would you give to maybe a woman who is in a similar cycle that you were in, where they were self-sabotaging and just feeling very stuck?
Mm. The first thing is to ask is to really get a clear vision of what they want. And I see this a lot is when you ask someone what they want, they tell you everything they don't want. Uh, and that's just we're naturally as humans, I think, we tend toward the negative. And so it's really important. And I say, so what is it that you do want? Tell me what it is you want, and to be really clear about that. And so I think the first step is really going, what do I want? And when someone says, I want to be happy, okay, what does happy mean to you? Because it's different for everyone. It is so different for everyone. And I think it's really important to find out what is that to you. And then it's coming back, and this is really key because a lot of times people will put it as external things. And it's really important that those things are internal because, as an example, as I gave a client yesterday, um, I said, you need to get that happiness from within because you're looking for it from an external source. And it might be all good and well, but when that external source ends things, then all of a sudden you're back where you were instead of just being sad and grieving that if that relationship to that the end to that relationship. Now you're like back at square one because you don't have that base joy line, which is what I feel like I have now. So I experience sadness, I still experience anger, I still go through emotions, but I don't get stuck there. And that is the massive difference. So that's what I would say to anyone is to really define what it is that you want and be really clear on that. And then you can start taking steps toward that.
Yes. Oh my gosh, that is so beautifully articulated because I think a lot of times we have so many external things that are pulling at us. I mean, look at social media. It's like, those dopamine hits, like it's always trying to, like pull us outside of ourselves, really. And
Mhm.
that is
Oh,
where
yeah.
that's where everything is. Like all the answers are inside of us, but we're always looking externally, for that gratification, that joy, that happiness, those moments. You see people posting on social media, beautiful vacations and cars and purses and, all these things. But then, like, a few months later, they're like, I'm getting a divorce. I'm depressed. I was in an abusive relationship. You're like, wait, where was all that? Like when you were posting your highlight reel, and so I
Yeah.
think a lot of times people, they are constantly living outside themselves. They don't even know themselves. Like that's the first thing I ask clients too. Like, what do you want? Like, where do you want to go? They don't know, they can't even articulate it because first they haven't even given themselves permission to even dream, you know?
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
I love that you started with that. Talk to our audience a little bit about NLP coaching and, just exactly what is it and how are you working with clients right now, like, to help them kind of overcome those mental blocks? Because I know you're working with a lot of women.
Yeah. I mostly work with women, but it's interesting. I've had a few men just enter my 90-day program, which it's good. I love the balance of it. So yeah, so basically with the 90-day program, so I work in mainly two ways. So either a 1 month program, which is working specifically on one thing. So someone might say, I'm like anxious about a particular thing. So it's just the rest of their life is good. They've got things in check. They're just, or a fear or something. But the 90-day program is like the we look at the whole, like what are all the different areas of your life? And, because as you know, like one area is out of whack, it affects, all the others. And so it's kind of getting a bit of a detailed personal history, like, who are the significant relationships in their life, positive and negative? Did they have a teacher? I always use this example because unfortunately it happens so often. Did you have a teacher that told you you would never amount to nothing? You know, and quite often that thing is something that people hold on to. And a book that, I loved and I read really when I was quite young, in my 20s, was The Four Agreements by Don Miguel Ruiz. And it's don't take anything personally. And I always give that example to my clients. You can have 100 people standing in front of you, and 99 will go, oh my God, you're amazing, you're beautiful. And you've got one person going, you're stupid and you're ugly. And that's what you focus on. Right. So it's yeah, and so people tend to carry those things through their entire life, or they have a parent that, isn't good to them. And, so I figure out like the relationships that they've had in their life or are current in their life that have had a significant impact. Relationships, husbands, wives, whatever. And then we work on what needs to be cleared. Like, what is it that you've put in that bag of yours and put on your shoulder, and you're just carrying that through to every experience in your life. Like that's the visual I give my like, you just keep packing that stuff
Yep.
in and oh yeah, I'm going to take this one to my next relationship and my next job and my next, and
Everything.
so it's about clearing that. And so I use, coaching, hypnosis, and NLP. So coaching, as you would know, Damesha, is asking people questions. Oh, I want to be happy. Like I said, what does happiness mean to you? What is it that you want? And then they might go, oh, I want a good job. What's a good job to you? What does that mean? What does it give you? So it's digging, it's not taking those superficial answers and holding that space. So with the NLP, I do timeline therapy. So NLP in a nutshell is like it's neuro-linguistic programming for those of you that don't know, and it's using language to make change. And there's, I don't know, probably hundreds of different techniques with NLP, and people like myself use it for good, but people can also use it to for negative, right? They can use it to get people to do something in a way that they want them to. That's so there are ways to use it, like salespeople use it, which is not always a bad thing, right? But using certain language. So for me, with timeline therapy and what I love, are you familiar with timeline therapy, Damesha?
I am a little bit, but tell me more.
Yeah. So it's a beautiful, very simple, but extremely powerful technique. And it's just done in a very light trance. So they just, I ask my clients to close their eyes if they feel comfortable or just kind of look down toward the floor, whatever they're comfortable. And and you do it with different emotions. So let's say they've been carrying a lot of anger around. I won't go through the exact technique because
Course.
it's it's that it's better when it's done, when people don't exactly know because then they don't make up stories. They don't tell, like you
Of
mentioned.
course, yep, exactly.
Yeah, so it's a more natural, but basically you take them back through their timeline to certain things and just take them through, like I said, a very simple but very powerful process. And it's just trusting. And I just say to them, whatever comes up, just trust it. Just say it. It doesn't matter how silly it is. And it's about ultimately is getting the learnings which will allow them to let go of those old emotions so that if they happen in the future, that they will, no longer be there. So, but I do just want to let everyone know all emotions are valid and have a purpose. We don't get rid of emotions because I say to my clients, if someone's attacking you, you want to get angry, man. You want to be able to, so all emotions have a purpose, but it's when it's holding on to that emotion that is holding you back from living your best life. That is when that emotional tie needs to be cut. So that, for example, is one. And then a very simple one is anchoring. So if someone, is nervous about they get anxiety a lot, or, like speaking on stage or just going into public places, we may install an anchor. So, an anchor is something that's naturally occurring in life. So, Damesha, you might hear a song and you're like, oh my God, this reminds me of, when I was in prom, junior prom or whatever, like you'll think of a song and it just takes you right back there. So that's a really positive anchor. Or there
Yeah.
can be negative anchors, right? You can be like, oh, that smell reminds me of someone that, was not good in my life. So those are naturally occurring anchors. So with NLP, we install an anchor or collapse an anchor as well. You can also collapse. So, for example, I always ask a client to choose somewhere, usually on their hands, because they can use it without anyone even knowing. So if they're walking into a situation, and let's say, example, we're installing a calm or confidence anchor, my favorite anchor is right here. I use that, the Wemming. So you could literally just be doing that and firing off your anchor. So I take the clients through a technique where it puts them into that state that they want to feel. And you do it over and over till the anchor is strong enough. So when they touch that or that, wherever that anchor is, that it takes them into that. So it's just rewiring that brain.
So good. It's so interesting. I use anchoring in music, because I like to anchor things to a song or something, like even at the start of the year, like I usually choose a word, but I like to take it a step further and anchor it to a song.
Yeah.
And so
Love that.
yeah, and I love that I'm gonna steal that because I love that anchor like being right here. Like that is so good because it's so discreet. You can do it in meetings, you can do it, if you're getting ready to go up on stage, like I love that. Thank you so
I've
much.
got a workshop I can send to you on that.
Oh, amazing. Please.
Yeah.
That would be
Yeah.
awesome. Yeah, I'm like, we'll talk more about that, but yeah, that is incredible. Now, do you usually take clients only in person or do you do things online as well?
Yeah, I do a lot. So I have I would say it's gotten a lot more online now, I think, with people's busy schedules. So I love it when someone's like, oh, I can come in person. I'm like, hey, just because it's that human connection. But so often, and I love that you brought this up because so probably I would say now my clients are probably about 70-30, so 70 online, 30% in person. And sometimes clients will do both. Sometimes I'll come here and sometimes I'll do it online. People always say, but does it work online? I'm like, well, just go and read my clients' reviews, and you can see because I have clients in America, because obviously I lived there for a long time. So I have had clients from the States, and their transformations, speak for themselves. So there is no difference because it is all about intention. That
Yes.
is that is how it works. An example of this is with hypnosis. Someone will ring me and go, "Oh, do you quit smoking?" Look, I do it, of course, I can do that. It's not my passion. Obviously, I love helping someone quit smoking, but it's not my area, that. Anyway, so they'll go, "Can you help me quit smoking?" I'll go, "Yeah, of course I can." Blah blah. I take them through the talk on a scale of 1 to 10, 0 being don't want to quit at all, 10 like I can't wait to quit, where are you? And they'll say, oh, I don't know, like 5 or 6. My
Yeah.
wife, my husband, they really want me to quit. I'm like, it's not going to work. Sorry. I could take your money, but it's not going to work.
I love that. I love
because,
your honesty. That's
because I can't make someone do something that they don't want to do. I am not a magician.
no,
Even
no,
though I've been called that, I'm not.
love that. Well, but and I always say like they have to do the work. The clients has it doesn't work if you don't work. You have to do the work. Like, I use this with my clients. I say like you're the expert of you. And so like you're gonna, either be lying to yourself or we're gonna tell, the truth throughout this whole process. And so you're the expert of you. I'm the expert of curiosity of you.
Oh, I love that. I
So
love that. Yeah.
yes.
Yeah. Um, yeah, it's so interesting, when people think they're like, oh, you did this, thank you, you did that. And I'm like, I'm the facilitator,
Yes,
you did the work.
absolutely.
And I make sure that people know that because then they think, oh, I'm only good because of no, it's not. I just facilitate it, and I really try and get people to take that on board that not
Mm,
everyone has these results. You came and you ready to work and you did the work. You put yourself first.
absolutely.
So yeah.
Love that. I love your humility there. Talk to me a little bit about because you founded the Life Lounge as a space for women to reconnect with themselves. Like, tell me a little bit about that.
Yeah. Thank you. It is my baby. So it actually was a an idea that came from around COVID time. Doing one-to-one wasn't going to be, time effective to be able to, to earn money to support my family. So I was like, I need to start one-to-many. And that's where the concept of the Life Lounge was born. I got started with it and then I just kind of put it aside, but it was always there that I wanted to reach more women. Like that's the main thing is I can only see really like 10 clients at one time. Like so yeah, that's with running a family and doing all the things. So I put it on the back burner and then just over a year ago I was like, you know what? I just keep making excuses because of technology. I don't know about you, Damesha, but let me put this, it is not my strong point. Technology. So I just decided to launch it instead of as a paid membership site to just create a Facebook community and just get started and stop with the excuses. It's directed towards women that are 40 plus because I feel very passionate about helping women in midlife because of what we go through. And I wish that I had known what I know now in my 40s. It would have saved me a lot of heartbreak. Yeah, and misdiagnosis as well of things. So yeah, so the Life Lounge was born and we do in-person events. So it's like anyone from around the world can be in the Life Lounge because we run online challenges. I do free workshops in there. That's where the anchoring workshop is. So if anyone would like that, I'm happy to send it to you. But yeah, we do in-person events for those that are local. We walk, go to the beach. We went boot scooting a couple of weeks ago. We did cold nips, which you saw yesterday morning,
So
the
cool.
silent disco. And
I mean,
it's
how many
just,
people were there? That was the coolest thing. I mean, your photos, I was blown away. Like I couldn't even imagine. Like tell people really quickly what that was, because that was so awesome.
so there is this amazing group of young people, and they created this group called Cold Nips Community. And it was basically started out where they just get up a couple of times a week, maybe, and they go meet at the beach at sunrise and they go do a cold dip. So it's called Cold Nips.
So cute.
So good old Aussies, right? Anyway, and it's just grown and expanded. And, it's predominantly young people, like people in their 20s to, I'd say, early 30s. And I would just see their photos. I'm like, oh my gosh, it's amazing. But, with my kids, we were a bit younger and I just could never get to those types of things. I saw this event being posted about this silent disco at dawn. And I was like, oh my gosh, that's so up my alley. And you go meet at the beach, 4:30 in the morning. You show your ticket, you get your headset, and there's one DJ, so it's not like another silent disco where you've got different choices. And then basically everyone there, and there was this particular event was the biggest one they'd had. There was 700 people, 700 sober people that have got up at around 3:30 in the morning to be able to be there on time to dance like nobody's watching with like-minded people. And just, oh my gosh, the energy it's amazing. It is just, everyone's happy and smiling, and you're just like, look at these people. They're sober. There's no alcohol. We're on the beach, we're grounding, and it's just magic. And so you dance for about 45 minutes and they play tunes that everyone knows. So you're singing and, just like, it's so good. It must look so funny to an outsider's perspective.
Oh, it looks so cool. And honestly, I was like, what, how amazing is that energy? Like you probably couldn't even explain it, like you'd had to have been there to really, feel it and understand like what that felt like. But also just the level of joy that was in the photos for me, like it was such authentic joy, So
Yeah.
it was so beautiful. I love the photos. So such a
And it
gift.
was a full moon.
Oh my gosh. Oh, come on.
It was a full moon. It was just like, and she came and she showed herself because it was really cloudy. And I was like, oh no, we're not going to be able to see it. And then all of a sudden you just like, and it was just
Wow.
like,
Well, and you're having quite a weekend because you're also going to run a marathon, like,
a
right?
half marathon.
I
Let's
a
look,
half marathon, right?
half
Okay, still,
marathon
that is
tomorrow.
amazing. Amazing.
Yeah. Yeah. It's amazing. I haven't been doing very good with my training, but I'm going to finish it, Damesha.
That's
I'm going
right.
to finish it.
I have
Uh,
faith.
Yeah. So yeah, just to touch. And then after you dance, then you all hand your headphones back and then you all get in the water at sunrise.
Oh my gosh. Oh my goodness. That is awesome. Just awesome.
Yeah, it's amazing. They're an incredible community. Incredible community. Cold Nips. Check them out. They want to do a world tour, I think. So look out.
Oh my goodness, how cool is that? Well, I mean, that just feels like you were fueling your soul that day, Like, tell me a little bit about that because being a single mom, with two, teenage boys as well as an entrepreneur is not easy at all. I know I'm a single mom of two myself. But just juggling it all, like, from personal growth to parenting to running a business and, showing up for your clients and also more importantly, showing up for yourself, like how do you fuel yourself back up, mind, body, and soul? How do you stay
Mm.
grounded and energized?
Sometimes it's really hard.
Saying
But no.
that.
So it's so interesting. So I was having tea with a girlfriend in December, and I hadn't seen her for a while, and I was telling her everything. I had a really tough year last year, really tough, particularly with my 13, well, he was 12 at the time. Anyway, and I was telling and then with menopause, and anyway, I was telling her, and she goes, "Oh my God, Nichola, like, how do you have clients when you've got all that going on?" And I said, "Oh, I said, I just compartmentalize. I'm easy. It's so easy for me to put it in a box and put it away. but also importantly, I'm authentic. So my client might say something to me and I'll go, you know what? Yesterday I told my son to something not very nice.
Yeah.
And they're like, oh, and I go, yeah. And you know what? I apologized when I'd calmed down and I owned it. But the difference is now, Damesha, from like 10 years ago, I don't feel guilty. I don't carry that guilt anymore. Was it my finest moment? No, I'm human. So it's being authentic with my clients. And they'll go, they kind of think, so I'm able to compartmentalize. So one, that's really important. So I put it away. But then if it's if it's going to serve in the session, I'll share that with them. So they're like, oh, okay. Okay, you do lose your shit. Yes, I do. I'm
I'm
human.
human.
I've got two teen boys. So what do I do? When I'm having a particularly really bad day and I know that I've got a client coming or just anything, or I need to get stuff done, one, I dance. I put music on and I dance loud, jumping around and just shift and sometimes it just doesn't feel right. I'm just like, and I make myself just get into it and I dance. So that is definitely one thing that I do. Another thing that I do, which is a technique, which is not mine, someone shared it with me once and I love it. And I share it a lot with my clients. It's called surfing the urge. You can Google it. I think it's online, surfing the urge. And it's about uh, letting the emotion, so experiencing, okay, I'm feeling really angry, and really important, always you're feeling angry, not I am angry. So it's not a part of you, it's something outside of you. And I use that. So it's an amazing technique of just allowing yourself to feel the emotion, right? So you're not blocking. So that is a really powerful technique. And then I tap. I do a lot of tapping, EFT, emotional freedom technique. So yeah, so I use those few things, and sometimes I call a friend and have a good old cry or a bitch or whatever I need to do to get it out.
I love that. I love that you talked about this. It's so interesting. I call it something a little different. Like, with my clients, I say you have to feel your feelings, but I love the actual name of the technique. I'm going to use that because it just sounds cool. But I also love that you shift your energy. And I think a lot of times, like we allow ourselves to sit in things and it stays in us and we don't understand that it's really energetic. And so it's so important to find whatever works for you, whether it's walking, running, dancing, but really shifting that negative vibe, that negative energy in you and moving it around, and then tapping is so wonderful. Like I just did a webinar and shared, some tips on tapping as well as cupping, like where you're, hitting yourself. It's a similar to tapping, but your hands, cupped. And so
Okay.
I love, I use those, because sometimes I'm like, I only have like a minute in between my meetings, or like no time at all. I might be running a little late like I was today. And, and I'm like, okay, I gotta quickly shift the energy because I like to do that in between calls. I like to shift my energy so I can show up, in like whatever energy that I want, like that I'm in right now, as opposed to what I took from the meeting before. And so, um,
Yeah.
love that. Love that you do that. Tell us, like, because I'm sure I saw your shelf over there. You have several books on your shelf. Like, talk to us about like a book recommendation that helped you along your journey, or one that you really, really love. Like, I know that you shared The Four Agreements, which is one of my favorite books. I've recommended
Oh,
it like 100 times over. I'm like, I should be earning some points, as many books as I've given out for that, and as well as recommended. But what's some more?
yeah. So one that is great. Again, there's another workshop on that I've done is create. So it's Atomic Habits by James Clear. That I love. I love that whole concept of habit stacking. So, oh, I can do this when I've done this, and creating, that new habit. And I did a workshop on that as well in the Life Lounge. So I give a lot of really great free content in the Life Lounge. So that book, but another one that's from way back in the day is The Way of the Peaceful Warrior by Dan Millman, I think. I think it was. Have you heard of that one?
I've heard of it, haven't read it.
Yeah, it's an amazing book. It's really about I think that was actually the first spiritual book that I read back in my 20s, and the Celestine Prophecy. Have you read that one?
Ooh, ooh. Yeah, I love when you give me
Oh,
books. This is like my favorite. This is why I asked this
they're
question because
so yeah, they're so good. But The Way of the Peaceful Warrior, it's a novel. And so is the Celestine Prophecy, actually. It's put into like a story, whereas like Atomic Habits is, a self-help book, essentially. So that book, I would recommend anyone to go and read that. The Way of the Peaceful Warrior.
I just
Yeah.
put it in my cart. I love it. Thank you so much for that. Like, it's one of my favorite questions to ask because I feel like I've just gotten this beautiful reading list, from all of my soul feeling guests. And so, so I'm so grateful. And I know the audience loves it too because I've gotten so many comments on all the books. But what's next for you? Like, and also, like, are you accepting new clients? Like, where's the best place people can connect with you?
Yeah, thank you. So yes, I am accepting new clients. I still have a bit of availability. I've just had two or three clients just finish out of the 90-day program. And so I'm accepting some one-to-one clients. And the next big project for me is launching the Life Lounge 2.0. It's probably not going to be called that, but that's essentially what's going to be. The Life Lounge is always going to be there. It's always going to be free. There's always going to be workshops for free in there. There's always going to be those in-person catch-ups and connections. But the membership site is going to be a way that I can coach more women on a regular basis at a really low cost. So there will be, workshops, probably, I don't know, like fortnightly, monthly. I haven't quite got the,
That's okay.
gist of it all yet, but I'll show up and there'll be live coaching. There's going to be retreats. I'm going to be hosting my first in-person retreat for a weekend later this year. So, when people are part of that community, they'll get discounts and first access to the retreats and things like that. There's just going to be huge amounts of content on there for, like I said, a really low cost. It's going to be around about $50 Australian a month. So that's probably about $30 a month. I haven't fully locked that down yet. And then obviously there'll be a discount if someone buys a year up front. But it's, if someone wants to come in for a month and then get out, that's it. There's no, oh, you're stuck here for another 2 months or anything, just I want it to be really authentic and yeah, supportive of whatever people need. So yeah, so
I
that's the
love
next big thing for
that.
me.
Very exciting.
And it's so important, Damesha, that there are and like everyone needs support, right? But women, I think, for so long have been putting themselves, you know, not even just second, but last, and
On the
putting
back
everyone
burner.
in front of them.
Yeah.
And so I love, there's so many communities here in Perth that support women, and I love it. Like I often tag other communities here, because I just feel like there is enough for everyone. And I think the more people that do this work is so good because there is enough for everyone. And someone may connect better with you, or they may connect with me, or they can connect with them. Everyone is different. And that comes back to what you said before about, when we were talking about the Cassie Phillips and, that let them theory, it's been around for forever. It's just how you share that message. So the way that you say it, Damesha, someone's like, oh my gosh, I hear you. And then someone like hears me saying, they're like, oh my gosh, I love the way she says that. That's, I connect with her. And it's just everybody, yeah, you connect with people differently. And so I think it is so important. I love that you've created that. And yeah, I think, yeah, and I think it's amazing too, because there's a lot of men being supported. And I know you've talked about that too. And I think you're going to be doing something with a
And down
men's.
the road, absolutely. I can't leave my guys
Yeah,
hanging. So I'm very excited about that.
yeah,
And it's a little ways out, but definitely something I would love to create for him, having his leadership garden. Because
yeah.
again, I'm so amazed, like even for the show, I thought more women would tune in to the show, and it's actually like a 60-40 split. Where I have more men watching the show than women. And same with my newsletter. I have more men signed up to my newsletter. So there's definitely, they're also craving, peeling themselves apart. Like I use the analogy of a pomegranate. It's like,
Mm.
we have so many layers, to us, and it's so important for us to get to the sweet spot. And I just think men are so curious, because they've had to wear their armor, going out into the world and not showing their feelings and not, showing up as their authentic selves. And I think, they're tired too.
Yep. Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, there's big shifts going on, as you know, in our world. And yeah, it's a tough time for a lot of people.
A lot of
So people need support.
Yes,
Yeah.
absolutely. Well, I love that you're creating the space for people, not just in Australia, but also in the US. So if you're interested, please check out her website. You can get some updates there, and also give her a follow. You will not be disappointed on social media as well. I just want to thank you so much for coming on Sunday Soul Day, blessing the show. So grateful that our paths crossed. You are such a beautiful light. So I'm so grateful that we crossed paths.
Yeah, thank you so much. I'm just so honored to be here with you, and I absolutely just love you. And our chat when you had to pull over on the side of the road, and we were like I don't know, 40 minutes or something.
I know, we're just going. I'm like, oh my gosh, I talked to her forever. Yeah, we resonate. Like everything you were saying resonates so deeply with me. So, and I think that's what when you're on this path, like I keep praying for destiny helpers, and not just people who can move me forward, but also just, help continuing to shine a light, on things that I'm doing, and I can, return the light back to them. And so, I'm so grateful for it. I'm grateful for the show. Like it just afforded me just the most amazing conversations with humans I probably would have never, gotten the privilege of meeting. And they're all in these amazing journeys and have overcome just tremendous things. And I just want to let the world or anyone who's tuning in know that, like, you're not alone. We all have pasts, we all have things we've done that we wish we didn't, and we all have transitions and struggles and pain. And some of us even struggle with depression and all kinds of things. And so, I just want to let people know they're not alone. And
Yeah,
the show has done that for a lot of people. So
it's amazing. Keep doing the amazing work, and thank you, Damesha. Thank you so much.
thank you.